But if the police decide to issue me with a fixed penalty notice, I would, of course, do the right thing and step down. Ever since the first COVID lockdown, I've always followed the rules. In that time, the British people have made heart-wrenching sacrifices. People were left desperately lonely. They were separated from family and friends. Tragically, many were unable to see dying loved ones. This was a collective sacrifice. People were entitled to expect that politicians would follow the same rules as everyone else. When my mother-in-law passed away suddenly just before the lockdown, my wife and I were unable to provide her father with the support we wanted to afterwards, because we followed the rules. Barely a day has passed where we haven't agonised over that decision, but we did it because we followed the rules. We all found the rules frustrating at times, and I'm no exception to that. I had to isolate 6 times during COVID, pulling me away from my work and the things that I love. But I did it because we followed the rules. The idea that I would then casually break those rules is wrong. And frankly, I don't believe those accusing me believe it themselves. They are just trying to feed cynicism, to get the public to believe all politicians are the same. I'm here to say that they're not. I believe in honour, integrity, and the principle that those who make the laws must follow them. And I believe that politicians who undermine that principle undermine trust in politics, undermine our democracy, and undermine Britain. I'm absolutely clear that no laws were broken. They were followed at all times. I simply had something to eat while working late in the evening, as any politician would do days before an election. But if the police decide to issue me with a fixed penalty notice, I would, of course, do the right thing and step down. This matters. It matters because the British public deserve politicians who think the rules apply to them. They deserve politicians who hold themselves to the highest standards. And they deserve politicians who put the country first rather than themselves. They will always, always get that from me.
A recently resurfaced footage of Keir Starmer has reignited political debates, as it captures him making a firm promise to step down if he was found to have broken COVID lockdown rules. This statement, made during a time when the Labour leader was positioning himself as a champion of integrity and accountability, now raises significant questions about political consistency and public trust. The video highlights his direct pledge to everyone, including, of course, working people, reinforcing the idea that his commitment extended beyond just political rhetoric and into tangible action. The resurfacing of this promise comes amid scrutiny over Starmer's conduct during the pandemic, particularly regarding the so-called Beergate incident, in which he and other Labour Party members were allegedly seen gathering indoors in a way that may have breached lockdown regulations. While Starmer had strongly criticised then Prime Minister Boris Johnson for violating lockdown rules, calling for him to resign over the infamous Downing Street parties, his own adherence to the same standards is now under question. For many, this footage represents a test of Starmer's integrity. His leadership has been built on the idea of restoring public confidence in politics, distancing Labour from the scandals that have plagued other parties. If he were to backtrack on this promise, it could damage his credibility, making him appear as just another politician who says one thing but does another. On the other hand, his supporters might argue that circumstances have changed or that the allegations against him do not hold the same weight as those against government officials who systematically ignored lockdown rules. Beyond the immediate political ramifications, this issue highlights the broader challenges of accountability in public office. When political leaders make bold promises, they must be prepared to follow through or risk losing the trust of the electorate. Starmer's handling of this situation could either reinforce his image as a principled leader or expose him to accusations of hypocrisy. In the run-up to the next election, how he responds to this controversy may have a lasting impact on his leadership and the Labour Party's electoral prospects.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Secretary of State recently approved a 524-hectare solar farm in Lincolnshire, a farm linked to Dale Vince, a £5.4 million donor to the Labour Party. The public have a right to be certain that this decision was carried out properly. So, will the Secretary of State refer his conduct of this application to the Independent Advisor on Ministerial Standards? Yes or no? Secretary of State.
Well, I'm glad the Honourable Lady asked about this because I took no part in this decision and recused myself from it. And here we go, Madam Deputy Speaker. You see, they've got nothing to say. They've got nothing to say about the country. Desperate scraping of the barrel. And let the whole House hear it. They oppose a solar plan. They oppose a solar plant that will put up solar panels throughout the country and give clean power to the British people. The state of the Conservative Party, Madam Deputy Speaker, is something to behold.
The recent exchange in Parliament between Conservative MP Joy Morrissey and Labour MP Ed Miliband highlights the deep political divisions and growing scrutiny over government decisions related to renewable energy projects. At the centre of the debate is the approval of a 524-hectare solar farm in Lincolnshire, which has drawn attention due to its links to Dale Vince, a prominent green energy entrepreneur and his $5.4 million donor to the Labour Party. Morrissey, in her questioning, implied that the decision may have been influenced by political donations, urging the Secretary of State to refer the matter to the Independent Advisor on Ministerial Standards to ensure transparency and accountability. Ed Miliband, in his response, firmly denied any involvement in the approval process, stating that he had recused himself from the decision to avoid any conflict of interest. However, rather than simply addressing the concerns about potential bias, he quickly shifted the debate to a broader political argument, accusing the Conservative Party of opposing renewable energy projects and engaging in desperate political attacks instead of focusing on the pressing issues facing the country. This exchange is emblematic of the partisan nature of British politics, where accusations of corruption and favoritism are frequently leveled against opponents, often overshadowing substantive policy discussion. From a governance perspective, the key question is whether the solar farm approval process was conducted fairly and transparently, or whether political affiliations played a role in shaping the outcome. If the decision was indeed based on objective criteria and followed due process, then the allegations may amount to mere political point scoring by the Conservatives. However, if there are legitimate concerns regarding undue influence, an independent investigation would be necessary to uphold public confidence in the system. Beyond the immediate political controversy, this debate also underscores a larger ideological battle over renewable energy policy in the UK. The Labour Party has positioned itself as a strong advocate for green energy initiatives, with leaders like Miliband arguing that projects like solar farms are essential for achieving energy independence and tackling climate change. On the other hand, some Conservatives have expressed skepticism about large-scale renewable projects, particularly when they involve land use conflicts, subsidies, or political affiliations that could raise concerns among voters. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to drop a comment below, smash that like button, and subscribe. Join our Telegram for more updates.